How you doing, Booker? Yeah, I'm on. How you doing, boys? Billy, you all right? All right, look.
The tension in the air was palpable, the kind of electric charge you only feel when two forces of nature are about to clash. This was not just any fight, but a collision of two vastly different worlds. Jet Li, the martial arts icon whose fluid movements defy the very laws of physics, and Bill Goldberg, a powerhouse of brute strength and raw aggression. Fans of both legends had been eagerly awaiting this battle, hoping to see who would come out on top in this fight of epic proportions. Each fighter had their strengths, each their weaknesses, but as the crowd roared, one thing was clear. No matter the outcome, this would be a clash like no other. The stage was set in a colossal arena, with spectators from around the world watching eagerly. There was no going back now. Jet Li, calm and composed, stood in the center of the ring, his eyes scanning the crowd before narrowing his focus on Goldberg. His small but lean frame moved with the kind of precision that came from decades of training. Every muscle in his body seemed honed for speed, flexibility, and the art of striking. His strength lay not in size, but in technique. Goldberg, on the other hand, was the embodiment of raw power. Towering and muscular, he exuded a kind of physical dominance that could intimidate anyone. With a background as a professional wrestler, Goldberg had made a name for himself through his explosive moves and his unrelenting ferocity. His reputation was built on the power of his slams, tackles, and his ability to break down opponents with sheer force. He was not a man known for his finesse, but for his ability to overpower anything in his path. As the bell rang, both men squared off. The crowd held its breath, the world seemed to slow down for a moment, and then they rushed toward each other. Jet Li's strength in this fight was, without a doubt, his unparalleled mastery of martial arts. Trained in various forms of Chinese martial arts, including wushu, taiji, and sanda, he had developed a fighting style that blended speed, agility, and precision into an almost hypnotic dance. Unlike Goldberg's straightforward approach, Jet Li was a tactician in the ring, relying on his ability to outthink and outmaneuver his opponent rather than overpower them. What made Jet Li a formidable adversary was his lightning-fast reflexes. His speed was his greatest weapon, allowing him to dodge blows that most fighters wouldn't even see coming. His strikes were sharp, swift, and precise, able to hit pressure points that could incapacitate an opponent in an instant. Li's deep understanding of body mechanics and his flexibility also made him a difficult target. Every movement seemed calculated, every action purposeful. He was the embodiment of martial arts philosophy. The fight was not about brute force, but about control and discipline. But it wasn't just his speed that made Jet Li dangerous. It was his mental discipline. He could read his opponents, anticipating their moves before they even made them. His ability to remain calm under pressure was the mark of a true fighter. Even in the most intense of battles, Jet Li maintained his poise, waiting for the right moment to strike. Bill Goldberg, by contrast, was a different kind of fighter altogether. His strength was not in finesse or speed, but in his sheer power and aggression. Standing 6 feet 4 inches and weighing over 285 pounds, Goldberg's size alone made him a formidable opponent. His background in professional wrestling meant that he was no stranger to hard-hitting, high-impact moves. He had made a career out of dominating opponents with his devastating spears and jackhammers, moves that could leave even the toughest opponents reeling. Goldberg's physical endurance was another key strength. His ability to take punishment and keep fighting was legendary. This endurance, combined with his aggressive nature, meant that he was never out of a fight. While he might not have been known for his agility or speed, Goldberg's power and determination were enough to push through almost any obstacle. In addition to his physical attributes, Goldberg was incredibly mentally tough. He had a never-say-die attitude, one that had carried him through many of the most difficult moments in his career. His mentality in the ring was to go in hard and fast, dominating his opponent before they had a chance to retaliate. His lack of hesitation and his overwhelming presence often threw opponents off their game, as they struggled to keep up with his relentless pace. As the fight progressed, it quickly became evident that Jet Li's speed was giving him the advantage. Goldberg, in his typical fashion, came out swinging, trying to use his size and strength to overpower his opponent. But Jet Li was too quick, darting in and out of range, delivering sharp, pinpoint strikes to Goldberg's torso and legs. The audience watched as Jet Li's fists became a blur of motion, each strike landing with precision and speed. Goldberg, frustrated by his inability to land a solid blow, began to show signs of fatigue. His movements, while still powerful, were becoming slower, more deliberate. He was accustomed to dominating his opponents with force, but Jet Li's constant movement and quick reflexes kept him off balance. Every time Goldberg attempted to tackle or slam Li to the ground, he found himself out of position, with Jet Li slipping away before he could make contact. Goldberg's best chance lay in his power. But as the fight wore on, his attacks began to lose their effectiveness. He had landed a few hard blows on Jet Li, but they had not been enough to incapacitate him. Jet Li's ability to absorb punishment without losing his focus was one of the key factors in his success. With every hit Goldberg landed, Li only became more determined, his focus unwavering. As the fight reached its climax, Jet Li saw his opening. Goldberg, weary from his efforts, was beginning to slow down. Li had danced around him for most of the fight, wearing him down with quick jabs and precise strikes. And now, with Goldberg's guard down, Li launched his final assault. He moved in with lightning speed, landing a series of rapid punches to Goldberg's head and chest. Before Goldberg could react, Jet Li executed a flawless spinning kick, catching Goldberg square in the jaw. The massive wrestler staggered backward, his legs unable to support him as he crashed to the ground. The crowd erupted into applause as Jet Li stood over his fallen opponent, breathing heavily but victorious. It was not just the speed of his movements that had won him the fight, but his ability to outlast and outmaneuver his opponent in every phase of the battle. Jet Li had done what few could. He had taken down the powerful Goldberg not with brute force, but with strategy, speed, and precision. In the end, it was clear why Jet Li had emerged victorious. His mastery of martial arts, his lightning-fast reflexes, and his mental toughness had allowed him to counter Goldberg's overwhelming power. Where Goldberg had relied on strength, Jet Li had relied on skill. And in this particular showdown, skill had triumphed over strength. As Jet Li walked away from the ring, the world knew one thing for sure. Power and strength may win battles, but technique and discipline win wars.